A big ups to our sponsors, Tessy Plastics, and a thanks to Henry, who came over many years ago, in fact 50 years ago, to start this company, Tessy. We are going to honor his German roots by making an incredible Kotelett sandwich, something we guarantee you haven't had before, but you're going to be able to make it easily and impress some people. Now, the Kotelett is basically a pork chop. It's a cut of pork, and pork plays a big role in German barbecue. So in Germany, they barbecue like Americans. It's like a national sport there. But our base are typically hot dogs and hamburgers. Theirs are pork cutlets and different ways they use pork. So we got some pork in two forms, because you know we're gonna double down on things, just like they do at Tessy Plastics on that quality. So we got some quality meats from our friends at Lee and Steigerwald's, also third generation German immigrants. So we've got a beautiful bone-in pork chop that's gonna play in the game, and then some awesome bratwurst. But before we get going, what we're gonna make is a marinade. So when we make marinades, we always try to do them in plastic bags. This saves, when we can, dishes, because you know, we like to cook, we don't have to do dishes, or windows for that matter. So we get ourselves 2 cups of vegetable oil, all right? Then we're gonna add into that 1.5 sliced Vidalia onions. One of the active ingredients we've gotten here is 4 cloves of smashed garlic. And it's fresh garlic from our friends. So what we like, by the way, is we like our garlic like we like our Fräuleins, in braids. After that, because Germany and Tessy and great cooking in our mind is a mash of different international cultures, we're gonna put in 2 tablespoons of curry powder, 1 teaspoon of dried thyme and 1 teaspoon of dried oregano, a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of pepper, half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, give it a little bit of heat, 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika. We're gonna put in 2 teaspoons of stone ground German mustard, 4 crushed dried allspice berries. Now, as a youngin', actually, I saw the allspice on the spice rack when I was learning to cook at like 10, 11 years old. And I thought allspice was like a Frankenstein of spices, with just leftover spices mixed up, but it's not. It's actually a dried berry. So we're gonna crush those, break them up a little bit, and put them into our marinade. Now, allspice, if you can't get it, you can use juniper berries, but it provides a pretty cool coriander-like flavor to it. So first, before we get our beautiful meat in there, we're gonna really stir this thing up with our hands and get our marinade nice and mixed. Now, pork can take a beating, just like Spatchcock Funk can. So what we wanna do is we're gonna marinate this for 24 hours and get all the flavor into that beautiful pork chop. So get it into your bag, let the air out, and then massage it in there, because as a pork chop myself, I love a good massage. Now, one of the toppings on this sandwich is going to be caramelized onions. So before we started, I threw some onions on the grill, salted them with some butter and oil, and then after I've browned them, they've started to get smaller, so I'm gonna throw in a couple tablespoons of brown sugar and whip that up together. So you're gonna get this dark, sweet flavor that's gonna really go great with the meat. So we've got our onions going. It's time to put our pork chop on the grill. Oh man, this marinade smells awesome. It would work great as a salad dressing too, if we weren't already doing some naughty stuff with it, with that pork, you know? So put that on your grill. You can go about 4 minutes aside. Now we've got our bratwurst, and we've cut them into hinges, right? Because that way we can get them caramelized and they can lay flat on the sandwich. Now, like the people at Tessy, they're plastic engineers, we're food engineers, y'all, and party engineers. So let's party with some brats. Like the people at Tessy, like you watching after a long day at work, you wanna rest. So while the meat is resting, we're gonna make our topping that's part of the sandwich. So we've got half a cup of mayonnaise, and we have a 1/4 cup of more of that German stone ground mustard, and we're just gonna whip that up, and that's gonna become part of the topping of this amazing sandwich. Now what we're gonna do, we've rested a little bit, time to get back to work. We're gonna cut ourselves up this pork chop off the bone and cut it into some good long slices. So we want it medium rare, which is what we did. So we're gonna cut long slices along the side. Time to make this king of sandwiches. And to represent that, we've got a Kaiser roll, the king of rolls. We're gonna take it, we're gonna lay it down first. We made some homemade sauerkraut, and this is just chopped cabbage, salted, some caraway seeds, pressed, all in its own juices, but store-bought's just fine. So put a layer of sauerkraut on the bottom. After the sauerkraut, a nice, beautiful layer of that juicy, perfect pork chop On top of the pork goes more pork. Here comes the brat. On top of the brat, we are gonna put in some of those caramelized onions. And we ain't gonna be shy, because you know we're not shy at the Funk. Finally, we have from our friend Sandy, a couple of her homemade pieces of lettuce. I'm gonna drape across the top. On the top of the roll, we're gonna take that mustard mayo mix, which is where the party really starts to get going. This is the penthouse of the sandwich. But we also have some heirloom tomatoes. Now, heirloom tomatoes passed down from generation, just like generation to generation that started Tessy Plastics. People that work there are passing down to future generations. The heirloom tomato is awesome. And a little known fact too about the tomato, it's the most eaten fruit or vegetable in Germany. The average German eats 57 tomatoes a year, or about how many beers I drink on a weekend. That is the original, the Kotelett sandwich. For Tessy and their innovations in plastic, Spatchcock Funk, innovations in pork. See you later. Dope food plus strong drinks equals great stories. Subscribe now for more recipes and bad jokes.